Hello and welcome back to the Nothing to Something podcast. Guys, this is the podcast that helps you guys get ahead, gives you insight into conversations with real people discussing real struggles on their way to achieving real success. Now, today's episode is the first episode where I'm actually riding solo. Today's episode is going to be Fitness 101. Off the back of this episode, you will have all the tools that you need to be able to get in shape. That's the plan anyway. Let's go. Fitness 101, Physical Fitness 101. Now, why have I put this episode together? I've put this episode together because there are certain things throughout my journey that I've struggled with, and I think everybody should know. In the modern day, we live in an information age. You have the ability at your fingertips to get yourselves onto the right content that can put you ahead, can get you ahead of the game, can get you to moving towards your goals and moving things forward. So this is Physical Fitness 101. Now, a bit of backstory on myself before we get into this as to where the knowledge is coming from, why I think this is so important and what puts me in a position to be able to share this kind of knowledge. So first and foremost, I've been through my own journey. We're talking about physical fitness today. So in terms of fitness, in terms of my journey to getting in shape, so to speak, in layman's, it's been a long road. I'm someone who is pushing 40. I've been training for well over 20 years. And I've been a PT or personal trainer for going on 10 years now. I've been a PT in commercial facilities. I spent a long period of my PT life within Pure Gym in commercial facilities where I see hundreds and thousands, in fact, of members come in and out of these gyms on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly, year to year. Now, there's some common themes that a lot of people do not know. They don't know the fundamentals, they don't know the basics, and that is why people either struggle to get started, or once they have started, they struggle to stay consistent to a level where they can get ahead and start to see their bodies change, this physical fitness fall into play, and then become that improved version of themselves in essence. So this is going to be a breakdown of everything you need to know that you can take away, implement instantly in little implementable tips into your day-to-day habits so you can get yourself in shape. Let's go. Right, first and foremost, a couple of disclaimers before we get going. This is aimed at beginner or intermediate trainers. If you have been training as long as me, if you've been educated in how to train properly, if you're a fitness professional, then you might want to take things to another level. I'm talking about beginner and intermediate trainers here. People who've done little to no training, or people who are just getting going and want some rigidity, some solidity in their training and want to know facts and things that are real truths and things that they can implement in the long term. The next one is a disclaimer in look after yourself. You are number one. I'm here to give a bit of advice that you can take on board, take it or leave it. If you have medical issues, please consult your GP before taking any new sort of training on board. Don't just take my word for it. I'm the same. I'm absolutely obsessed with bettering myself and learning new things. But anything I find out, I don't just take it from word or spoken word. I'll go and research off the back of it and look into what works and what's true and what's not. So with that being said, let's go. Now, the first step in this journey is your self-awareness and introspection step. And this is something that anyone who listens to the podcast or listens to any of my content on social media or anything like that will hear me ramble on about over and over and over again. I'm a qualified PT, I'm a qualified life coach, I am a development coach, I coach clients virtually in improving themselves through personal development tips. There's a hell of a lot I do. In all aspects of my coaching and mentorship that I've done over the past 6-7 years, let's say, it all starts with self-awareness and introspection. It's a superpower. If you don't have this as a quality or as a skill, learn to harness self-awareness and introspection. Now, this is just as important with physical fitness because you need to understand your current state, not just physically, but mentally. Where are you at present? What are your barriers? What are the reasons why you're not where you want to be? What are the reasons why you're not where you want to be mentally, physically? What are the reasons you don't look the way you want to look? What's making you uncomfortable about your appearance? There's a hell of a lot that goes behind it. So self-awareness and introspection, understanding yourself, understanding your current state, understanding your barriers to success and what's holding you back, and understanding how to overcome those barriers and move things forward. Now, you're only going to do that with yourself. You can lean on coaches and mentors. You can lean on people who are in a position you aspire to get to. You can lean on people like myself and ask the right questions. I'm always open to taking on questions. If you want to get hold of me, Instagram's probably the best port of call at McLaren Coaching. But take a minute to sit in a quiet room, introspection, self-awareness, read some books, reach out to some mentors, understand your barriers and how you can overcome these barriers. Now, moving forward from that, when we've got an understanding of where it is we want to go and what's holding us back, then we can move forward into a state of putting these daily habits into place, which we'll get to in a second. But before we get to that, the next step through all my coaching practices after the self-awareness and introspection stage is your why. Now, once again, anything you want to achieve in life, anything that is going to be a big goal for you, anything that you want to move forward towards achieving, any goals should come with a why behind it. Now, whys are usually, if they're big enough, they come behind one of two things. You're either moving towards something that you really want, or you're moving away from something that you really want to move away from. For example, if you have come up from a really poor background or a broken family, and you don't want to live that life anymore, you got to better yourself. If you've got a massive goal of living financially free and not be living on other people's terms and living on your own terms, so to speak, then moving towards that goal will be a big one. So you're either moving towards or away from something. The bigger your why, the more likely you are to adhere to any goals you want to reach. Same goes for your physical fitness and what we're going to talk about here, whether it be aesthetic fitness or actual conditioning, cardiovascular, whatever else it may be. We'll break down the different parts as we move on through the podcast. But first and foremost, understand you need a why. Your why is going to get you out of bed when it's cold, when it's raining, when you don't feel like doing it. Your why is going to take you to the gym to do that session that you didn't want to do after a long 10-hour day at work when things have run over. You've been in meetings all day and all you want to do is go home and eat a takeaway and have a glass of wine. When your why is big enough and you can fall back onto it and understand just why you started and what this means to you, that's going to keep you going through the tough and the testing times. Right. Self-awareness done, introspection done. We're aware of what we want to achieve, we're aware of what the barriers are, and we're aware of our massive why and our driver as to why we want to move towards these things. Now we've got these things in place, we want to understand what the goals are. So I've already touched slightly on your goal here. If you've got your goal crystal clear in your head, fantastic. If you've got a general direction in which you want to move in terms of physical fitness, you want to lose some weight, you want to get more physically fit to be able to run around the garden with the kids or the grandkids, you want to be more able-bodied and flexible and whatever it may be. It might be more mental and that comes behind the physical. Understand that the more clarity you can create in what you want to achieve, the more likely you will be in achieving your goal. So we've got the clarity in place. So next up, daily habits. So once you've got an understanding of your goal and the clarity behind what you want to achieve, we're going to break that down into manageable daily habits. Now, the reason we're going to do that is because if you look at your end goal, if you are an average person who's slightly overweight and your end goal is to be in amazing shape, so you look great in this dress or this outfit or by the beach in your shorts for fellas, whatever it may be, looking at the end goal from your current state can be daunting. As with any goal, looking down the line at the end goal from your current position is daunting. It's off-putting. You look at it and on days when you're not motivated, you'll just give up because you can't see that. It's not tangible. You can't feel it. You can't taste it. It doesn't seem realistic to you. So what these daily habits are going to do is going to break your goal down into little manageable daily habits you implement on a day-to-day basis. And then you can rest assured that if you're taking care of these things on a daily basis, you don't have to worry about the future. You don't have to worry about the big end goal, the daunting goal at the end, the light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to worry about the day that is in front of you. So as I give you these tips, as we work through the rest of the podcast now, the aim is for you to have enough information to break these tips down and Plan them out into your own day, into your own lives, into little habits that you can implement on a day-to-day, so you no longer have to worry about the end long-term, daunting, huge, massive goal that's overbearing. Right, moving forward from our daily habits, we're going to get into the foundation. So here's the bread and butter of the podcast now. I'm looking down here, guys, because I'm just looking at my notes. I've written up some notes before we've got into the recording. So foundations, fundamentals, we're going to start with sleep. 7 to 8 hours of sleep, as every adult human will probably know, that's the recommended. That's what humans need. Everybody's a little bit different, so some will get away with being fully energized off a little bit less. Some will need a little bit more than others. But generally, 7 to 8 hours of quality uninterrupted sleep is ideal. Now, I know more than most that this is real life. Sometimes that's unrealistic. I've got 2 kids, 2 beautiful, amazing girls, the youngest of which has just turned 1. And the past 12 months have been a struggle. I nearly swore then, I'm not going to swear. But they've been a struggle, to put it nicely. Times when it's been a real struggle with multiple night feeds. On top of that, you've got the cognitive load of everything that's going on in the day, of having to be a great parent and put things on and produce for the kids and make the tea. You know, you guys have got kids, you guys are around kids, you know what it's like. Ideal scenario, 7 to 8. If not, get as much sleep as you can. If there are periods where you're struggling like myself over the past 12 months and you're getting 3 to 4 to 5 maybe hours a night, it's not ideal. And there are plenty of downsides to that, which I'll get into in a second. But try to make that up as much as possible. If not through napping when the little ones nap, or when you get the chance to throughout the day, depending on what your struggles and your barriers are. But if you don't get the chance to sleep, try and get into some non-sleep deep rest, or NSDR as they call it, which is a bit of a meditation practice. You can find the practice on YouTube for the likes of Dr. Andrew Huberman, amongst others, that will run you through that, where you get into a bit of a deep meditative state, and it will replenish you and restore cognitive, physical, the works, and it takes 10 to 15 minutes. But either way, you need to be getting a good sleep or good rest, or ideally a combination of the two in there day to day, in order for you to achieve your physical fitness as efficiently as possible. Now, we talked a little bit up there about why we need to sleep. I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail with a few facts that I have understood through my own research and practice over previous years. Not trying to scare anyone too much, and a few might have heard this on one of my previous podcasts, but getting 5 hours or less for a week, just a week, significantly reduces testosterone in men. If you are a guy who's training and wanting to achieve physical goals, a drop in testosterone, a significant drop in testosterone, is not what you want, for obvious reasons. Females, you will be more likely to come across irregular menstrual cycles, increased chances of first trimester miscarriage, amongst other things, all off just reducing your sleep from that 7 to 8 hours we talked about down to 5 hours a night, just for 1 week. For 1 week, and these things come into play. Alongside that, just one night of 4 hours reduces your fighter cells, as they call them, within the human body, which fight things like cancer, by 70%. So one bad night, half the sleep you should have got, and these fighter cells that are protecting you against deadly diseases in the body have dropped by up to 70%. I'll leave it there. I've got a whole list of all this stuff that I can run through, but I don't want to scare people too much. You get the gist. We need the sleep, we need the rest, especially when we're working towards achieving our physical goals, or our goals from a gym or getting in shape perspective. The last thing I'll touch on with the sleep is your circadian rhythm. Anybody who knows what this is will understand that a circadian rhythm is your sleep-wake cycle. You hear people alluding to body clock or talking about your body clock. This is what your circadian rhythm is. For your circadian rhythm to be in check, and for you to work, the human body to work as efficiently as possible, your circadian rhythm will have you waking and going to sleep around the same time each day. I understand things come up in life and this isn't always possible, but try and keep it roughly the same day to day. If you wake up every morning during the week at 6:30 and go to bed, let's say at 10 p.m, don't let it shift too much at the weekend if you can help it. If you're waking up at 10 a.m. on the weekends and there's a 3.5 hour shift there, then that is no good. Let's say an hour plus minus on the weekends. So try and keep your circadian rhythm in check in order for you to get the most efficient recovery and repair within the human body on a day-to-day basis. I've just noticed my nails in the picture there as well, for anyone who's wondering. My eldest daughter painted my nails the other day and I've still got them fresh for the podcast. So anybody who's wondering, there's the nails. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Anchor, you can't see the nails, but they are bright blue and the thumb's got yellow polka dots on them, courtesy of my about to turn 9-year-old daughter, Carter Grace. Right, onwards. So talking about fundamentals, the foundations of a successful physical fitness routine. We've got the sleep and the rest out of the way. The next thing up is hydration. So again, absolute abundance of reasons why you need to hydrate properly, especially when you're training. The human body is made up by a hell of a lot of water. Your muscles are made up of a hell of a lot of water. When you lack water, when you are dehydrated, you can't perform the same. Anybody who does intense training sessions, who trains HIIT or high intensity interval training, anybody who runs prolonged periods, even 5K upwards, 10K upwards, will understand that if you're dehydrated, if you've been on the lash the night before, if you've not been hydrating properly in the 24 hours prior, or even the morning prior to your workout, you will feel the difference. When you run in, your chest will feel tighter, you'll feel like you can't breathe as efficiently. All sorts of, there's a plethora of things that will fall into play and you won't feel as good. Your well-being won't be where it should be and where it could be if you weren't as hydrated. So how much water should we be drinking? As a rule of thumb, we should be drinking 2 and 3 litres per female and male respectively. So women 2+ litres a day, guys 3+ litres a day, and I say that as a minimum. Now, whenever I've said this to anyone in the past, I've been a personal trainer for, as I said earlier on, going on 10 years. People look at me and they say, I can't drink 3 litres of water a day, I'll never be off the toilet. You get used to it. Yeah, you can go to the toilet more time, you will have a toilet around you that you can use. You will get used to it. Yeah, after that initial period of drinking that amount of water, you will have a reduction in toilet breaks because your body will get used to it a little bit and start to utilize the water it's taking in. But try to aim for a minimum of females 2+ litres and gents 3+ litres per day. Right, foundations in place. We're moving on to the training. So this will be individual to each and every one of you guys listening to this as to what you want to achieve, into the training types that you enjoy, and to what ties best into your goal. So I say what ties best into your goal. We've got all sorts. We've got weight loss, we've got hypertrophy, we've got strength training, we've got CV or cardiovascular training for fitness, for endurance. You don't have to stick to any given one of these. When I say that, I mean, if you are somebody who's working towards weight loss, you don't have to go and walk miles on the treadmill every day or walk outdoors. You don't have to do cardiovascular fitness. If you are somebody who is working towards getting in shape and toning and whatever it may be, there isn't one specific sort of training that you need to do. So when choosing your method of training, I would put it down to a couple of things. First and foremost, think of something that you will enjoy to some degree. If you enjoy your training, even a little bit, it's going to add massively to the adherence. One of the biggest problems with people falling off these plans or these training plans and not getting towards the end goal is that there's a lack of adherence there because it's not something that they enjoy. Not saying you're going to love every session. It's going to be tedious. It's going to be a struggle at times, and we get through those times with a bit of motivational music or listening to something on YouTube or understanding the why that I talked about earlier on. But for the most part, every single session shouldn't be a chore. If you're somebody who likes the social aspects, then join a gym and do the classes. You can do the park runs that are going on up and down the UK at the moment, where you can go to the park on a Saturday or Sunday morning, check it online, and they will tell you usually around 9 a.m. in the morning, and you've got dozens of people from your local area doing a 5K together, and they're all at different ability levels. That's just one example. If you're somebody who enjoys the weight side of things, join a bodybuilding gym. There's all sorts of different options that you can take on, but try and take on something that you will adhere to because there's some sort of enjoyment or fulfillment from it, especially in the early stage. The further we get into your journey and the more progress you begin to make, you will start to see changes in the body, you'll start to see progress, and from there, the adherence will take care of itself. It really will, trust me. When you start to see them changes and people start to comment and say, oh, you're looking in shape, and you start to get them sort of reactions, the adherence will take care of itself. But in the beginning, it's going to be difficult. You're not going to see the changes instantly in the first matter of weeks or potentially even couple of months. Normally around a couple of months stage, you start to get comments and start to see changes in dress size, etc. But for that initial period, make sure there's some part of it that you enjoy and a big why behind it. So once we've chosen our method of training, what's going to get us towards our goal, whether that be weight gain or muscle gain, what's going to get us towards our goal, whether that be weight loss or toning or whatever it may be, is the combination of your chosen method of training alongside your calories. So your calorie intake or your food intake, which we will get into in a second. Okay, so if you're working towards muscle gain, toning, or changing body shape, there needs to be something in there that's going to put some sort of resistance on the body, whether it be body weight resistance, whether it be weights, whether it be something what's essentially got you moving some sort of load, able to put that strain on the muscles so they can tear these little fibers, which is what happens without getting too technical, and they grow back bigger and fuller and you get that tone within the muscle. So something that adds some load to your workout. If you're somebody who's working towards weight loss, you can do that as well, as long as you're in a calorie deficit, which we'll get to the calories as I just said in a second. But the main thing here is that you are in this calorie deficit, so taking in less calories than you're taking in, and you can get your activity in any way you see fit. So that can be weights, that can be cardio, that can be going for a run or a walk, that can be whatever you see fit. It doesn't just mean that because you're seeing social media, you lose weight, slimming world, whatever it may be, everybody's walking on a treadmill, walking outdoors. It doesn't have to be cardio as long as you are in a calorie deficit. So choose your method of training wisely. There's nothing to say that you have to stick to one method of training. There's a whole plethora of options out there. If you are unsure of what you are passionate about or what you will enjoy or what method of training you will like and want to stick to, as I tell anyone in any one of the coaching channels which I provide, if you're unsure of where you want to go in whatever subject, try different things. Get out there, try as many things as possible, go to a class, go and try CrossFit, go and join a running club. You will understand by your body's reaction, by your mental reaction, what you react to, whether it fills you with joy, whether it energizes you, whether you feel like you're part of something, or whether you feel like, hell no, that's not for me, I'm not comfortable there. And even then, sometimes it will be for you. You just need to get through that initial period. But try and get out and experience as much as possible so you can understand what works for you. So moving a little bit further into our training, if you are a beginner trainer, as I said, this information is provided more so towards beginner and intermediate trainers. If you're beginning your journey, use all the tools at your disposal. And when I say that, get on social media, get onto people who are in a position that you want to be in. There's a lot of people out there who are fitness influencers. Drop them a line, ask some questions, get in the gym, ask questions to the personal trainers in the gym or the gym managers. Those people are there and are fitness professionals. They are in that environment. They do that for a living. They've got all the information you could possibly need and they are willing to help. So go and ask the questions you need. On top of that, most commercial gyms you go to nowadays will offer a free induction. On an induction, that gives you an opportunity to go around with a gym manager or a personal trainer, give you an introduction to the different areas of the gym you can use, whether that's using machines, whether that's free weights, whether that's using the cardio equipment. During that induction period, you can ask them all sorts of things which we'll touch on now, like your rep ranges, rest periods, different training methods, nutrition, whatever it may be. You can ask the basic level of questions, which is more than enough to get you started when you're in that environment. So use all the options that are available to you. Reach out to these people, lean on them as much as possible and get in there. Take that first step, join a gym, get out and get yourself active, and let's hopefully move towards your goal, your long-term goal and your physical fitness goals. So moving forward from there, we have talked briefly about the different options in training. Now I want to talk briefly about the different options in what we're trying to achieve in terms of rep ranges for exercises. So this is a question I get a hell of a lot, something I am very specific with clients, personal training clients about, but a question I've got asked week in, week out for the past 7 or 8 years working in commercial gym facilities is how many reps one should be doing and how many sets one should be doing per exercise. So as a rule of thumb, across the board, whether working towards endurance or toning, whether working towards hypertrophy, which is the building and toning of muscles, or whether working towards strength training, I would look to get 3 to 4 sets of each exercise in there to get the main or the major benefits of that exercise. So 3 to 4 sets per exercise, whether working endurance, whether working in hypertrophy, or whether working strength. Now, your rep ranges will not be that simple. Your rep ranges, and what I mean by rep ranges is the amount of reps you do in each of those 3 to 4 sets will vary depending on your goals. If you're trying to gain strength and get stronger, then you should be failing. And when I say failing, that means you can't do another full rep within the 4 to 8 rep range as a general rule of thumb. So between 4 and 8 reps, especially in your 3rd or 4th set, if strength training, you should be struggling or failing to do an additional rep. Working towards hypertrophy or building muscle, that changes. So you should be failing or struggling to do your final rep somewhere in the range of 8 to 12 reps for hypertrophy. Changes again for endurance or general toning, and that will be 12 plus. So you will fail to do another rep when you are at 12 plus reps if you're working toning and endurance as a general rule of thumb. So for strength, it's 4 to 8 reps. So for hypertrophy or building muscle, 8 to 12 reps generally. And for endurance or toning of the muscles, general toning of the muscles or general fitness, 12 plus reps will see you hitting failure. So those are your rep ranges, and your sets will be 3 to 4 sets. And this is very generalized here, guys, but for beginner or intermediate trainers, that is the basis of what you need to know. So from that, you should get to understand where your weight lies and where you should be failing within those 3 to 4 sets, what your rep range is, depending on what your end goal is, whether strength, hypertrophy, or endurance. Hopefully that's straightforward. And if you do have any questions, I'll allude to again a little bit at the end of this podcast. Drop me a line, get in touch on Instagram, drop me a DM, and I will endeavour to get back to all inquiries or even general questions regards any of this or any of the podcasts within 24 hours. So moving forward from our rep ranges, another question that I've been asked an insane amount of times over the past sort of 8+ years as a personal trainer is, how many days a week should I train, and how long should my training sessions be? Now, there is no blanket approach. There is no uniform answer to this. This will be down to each individual, and this will be down to the time you have available. I would say at a minimum, if you're looking to get serious and you want to see some changes, some significant changes within yourself, physically and mentally, off the back of the training that you're putting in, with all the tips that we've just discussed, put into your routine, excuse me, I would say we should be aiming for 3+ sessions per week. Now, that doesn't have to be 3 weight sessions. That doesn't have to be 3 runs that you go for. You can mix it up between various sessions, and it doesn't have to be 3. It can be more than 3. I personally train 5 to 6 times a week, although I've been told I'm a bit of a wrong'un. I tend to lean into the suffering and train as a bit of a punishment for myself. That's a different story for a different day, but I tend to go to extremes. If you are a beginner or intermediate trainer, try to aim for 3+ sessions a week, geared towards what your end goals are. So if you want to achieve some weight loss and that's your primary goal, then them 3+ sessions would be geared around a mix of things that are going to help you burn calories, because essentially burning calories is what is going to put you in a calorie deficit and help you lose weight. If you are someone whose primary goal is building muscle and you want to be in a hypertrophy range, then I would stay clear from doing a hell of a lot of cardio, although I would always suggest doing some cardio in your training routine for general health and heart health, amongst other things. I would lean towards your 3+ sessions being hypertrophy sessions, where you split the body into various parts, whether that be push and pull, whether that be chest and shoulders, legs, back, whatever it may be. There's an absolute plethora of options out there, and you work towards hitting hypertrophy within those sessions. So 3+ sessions as a rule of thumb. Now, how long should your sessions be? Again, will depend on you as an individual. Your sessions do not need to be longer than an hour. If you've got that energy to burn and you've got that amount of free time in your calendar, then there is no reason why it can't be a little longer than that. Just don't run yourself into the ground. Listen to your body, make sure you're recovering adequately. But they don't need to be longer than an hour. You don't need to spend all day in the gym. I tend to train somewhere between 40 and 60 minutes, depending on the session that I'm doing. And I would say that's a general rule of thumb. If you are a busy individual, if you're a professional, if you're a parent, if you've got a hell of a lot going on and you can't adhere to 40 to 60 minutes per session, 3+ times a week, you can get a good session in 20 to 30 minutes, believe me. If that is the case, then I'd probably lean towards things that are a little more efficient. You might push a little bit harder, maybe for intervals, and do something like circuit training, something like HIIT or high intensity interval training for that 20 to 30 minute period. But rest assured, you can get an absolutely fantastic workout in 20 to 30 minutes. That goes without saying. Trust me, you can do it. So there's no excuses. It's not I've not got the time, it's a matter of priorities. If you prioritize getting yourself in shape and you can find 20 to 30 minutes a day, 3 to 4 times a week, let's say, then you're in a position to be able to make progress in your journey towards an improved version of yourself. Right, moving on to nutrition. Now, another disclaimer here, I'm just going to put it out there. I have done some overview or some CPD stuff in general nutritional guidance. I'm not a nutritionist. Hands up, I am not a nutritionist. If you want specific and individual nutrition advice, go and seek advice of a qualified nutritionist. I've been a personal trainer, as I said, for going on 10 years now, and I've learned some things along the way. I am more than skilled enough to give nutritional advice, but that's all it is. I'm not a nutritional expert. So with that said, let's talk about the nutrition side of things. You need to know where your maintenance calories lie. So people who are not really into the gym and want to make this as efficient as possible without getting too involved and without giving up too much time in their week, so to say, will look at me sideways when I say this. But when starting out, if you are serious in either losing weight, gaining weight, whatever it is your end goal is, you need to understand what your maintenance calories are, and you need to understand what calories you are consuming on a day-to-day basis in order to move you in either direction, in either muscle or weight gain or fat loss. You have to understand it. It sounds like a chore, and it can be to a degree, but not when our end goal is what's dependent on it. If you really want to achieve your end goal, if you've got a big why and a big driver behind it, spending a little bit of time, and that's all it takes, is a little bit of time to understand where your maintenance calories lie and how you need to adjust your calories to meet that. It's well worth it, believe me. So the simplest way to do this is to use a calorie tracker. There are various out there. The one I use and I've used for some time now is MyFitnessPal. Other trackers are available. I've got no affiliation to MyFitnessPal, sorry. But what MyFitnessPal does, and other trackers like it will do, is they will take some information from you. They will take your age, they will take your height, they will take your weight, so they can calculate your measurements, and they will also ask you for what your goals are. So once you've put your height, weight, activity levels, amongst other things, it will then explain to you what your maintenance calories are. So your maintenance calories, when I say that, what I mean is the amount of calories you need to consume per day in order to stay the same weight. Not gain weight, not lose weight. That's your maintenance calories. Now we adjust your maintenance calories either upwards to gain weight or downwards to lose weight or create a fat loss effect. Now, as a general rule of thumb, once you've found out your maintenance calories, which you can do very easily through a calorie tracker, you will then add 300 to 500 calories to gain weight or gain muscle alongside your training. This will help you gain muscle. You will subtract 300 to 500 calories to create a fat loss effect or put you in a calorie deficit so you are losing weight. Now, the only way to do this and ensure this works is to track, and track honestly. So you don't have to track forever. It can be a chore and it can get tedious. It can become addictive. Speaking from someone who's done this for a prolonged period, I no longer track, although I do off and on, depending on what I've got coming up and my sort of own goals, my personal goals and what I want to achieve in the coming months. I'm not tracking at the moment, but when starting out especially, understand your maintenance calories and track your calories in versus calories out, at least for the first month, I would say. By that stage, you will get a general understanding of whereabouts these calories leave you on a day-to-day, and you won't have to track unless you are being very specific about what you're trying to achieve. So once you've got your tracker in place, you've got your maintenance in place, or you understand your maintenance calories. From there, we can either add or subtract 300 to 500 calories, depending on if we want a muscle gain effect or a weight loss or a fat loss effect. That is absolutely pivotal in your journey. So your training, you could train like an absolute person who's possessed. You get the best sessions in the world in, you can lift loads of weight. Your training won't be as efficient, it won't be as well fueled, you won't train as hard, and you won't see the changes in the body and the effects as much as if you track your calories and you were taking in the right amount of calories to drive you towards your end goal. Hopefully that makes sense. And once again, if you've got any questions, just drop me a DM on Instagram at McLaren Coaching, and I will come back to you with any answers to these questions. In terms of the content of food you are taking in, I'm not going to get into too much depth here, as I've just said. I can give nutritional advice. I am not a nutritional expert. As a rule of thumb, carbs are not the enemy. That is a common myth, has been a myth for many years. I've had numerous clients who've come to myself over the years, and when we get to talking about nutrition, they'll say, right, I'm getting serious now, I'm going to drop the carbs. If you drop carbs, likelihood is you will burn some fat. However, that is not needed, that is not essential. And if you're anything like me, if you drop carbs completely, you will turn into a different person. Okay, you will have zero patience, you will have a hair trigger temper, there will be various things that go on in your life if you drop carbs altogether. Some people don't have this reaction and will get away with it and will be living on such as keto diets and things like that. I've tried that, it's not for me. All the fad diets I don't think are needed, from experience of both my own personal experience and the experience of the dozens and dozens of people I've helped achieve their goals over the years. You don't need a mad fad diet. Consistency in eating the right foods in the right portions and a solid, consistent training regime consistently over time will result in you seeing your desired goals. Mark my words. So in terms of what you're eating, very briefly, carbs aren't the enemy, although if there is an enemy out there, everything is okay within moderation, as with most things. But if there is an enemy out there, in my opinion, that is ultra processed foods, refined sugars, and anything that has got a ridiculous end date on it. We know the sort of stuff we should be staying away from. As an adult in the modern day, with all the information around us and at our fingertips, we understand what we should and shouldn't be eating to some degree. As a rule of thumb, very basic, taking plenty of water, hydrate well, as we talked about earlier on. Try to stay away from ultra processed foods and refined sugars. Try to eat whole foods wherever possible, and try to get a mix of protein, carbohydrates and healthy fats. Okay, I'll leave the nutritional stuff there. Once again, I am not a nutritional expert, although I am fit to give advice. If you want further information on that, hit someone up for nutrition. I know some fantastic nutrition people, so give us a shout if you want to be referred to anyone who can coach you online or write you up a specific nutrition plan. So we're almost at the end. I'll do a bit of a recap in a second, but just before we do wrap things up, I just want to say, with all of the above, try to get some cardio in there. I said you don't have to train cardio depending on your goals, and it all comes down to what you want to do and what you want to achieve and what you enjoy doing. I would advise everybody to get some form of cardio in there, to be raising your heart rate above base levels at least a couple of times a week, just for general health, just to get the blood flowing, just to increase your heart health and keep you in a nice healthy place. There's an absolute abundance of benefits which I won't get into every one of which right now, but try to get your heart rate elevated at least a couple of times a week, ideally every day, but at least a couple of times a week alongside any other types of training that you are undertaking. The last thing to say is that this is like anything else in life. Anytime we're driving towards a goal, whether it's financial, whether it's career driven, whether you are building a business, whether you are looking for your ideal peak physical shape, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world and is your best friend. Compound interest will absolutely carry you towards nailing your goals. So to recap, over the past 40 minutes or so, First and foremost, assess your current state. Introspection and self-awareness are superpowers. Understand where you are, understand your current state, and understand what the barriers to your success are. What are the reasons why you're not currently where you want to be for the subjects of this podcast in terms of physical or health performance? Moving forward from there, create as much clarity as possible in what you want to achieve, and then break your end goal down into manageable, implementable daily habits. As an example, if you're someone who's working towards weight loss, rather than thinking I want to lose 3 stone, that's a very daunting goal. Break that down into daily habits, which may be off top that you want to just ensure that you're in a calorie deficit each day. You want to ensure that you are controlling the amount of refined sugars or ultra processed foods that you're eating. You want to ensure that you're getting some sort of activity in each day in order to burn more calories. Those are the sort of implementable daily habits you can introduce to take away that eyes on the end daunting goal, so to speak. Moving forward from there, and there were some fundamentals or some foundations in place, and we understand that we need 7+ hours of sleep per day, ideally. We talked about the fact that this is life, things happen, kids happen, there are all sorts of things going on that are out of our control. 7+ hours ideally. If not, try to get some periods of non-sleep deep rest in there as well. Even if you are getting the 7+ hours, then you can get that in as well, just to get you into a restorative state. From there, we understood that we need 2+ for females or 3+ for males litres of water per day as a minimum. That's going to help you train efficiently. That's help you going to process your foods and take the nutrients out of your foods. That's going to help your performance both physically and cognitively. The benefits are endless with that. So make sure we're getting the water in there. Try to pre-plan, mouthful. Let's try to pre-plan your activities beforehand, or at least have in your mind what you are going to do. So whether you're going for a run, if you're going to the gym, what are the sort of activities you're going to do? Are you doing 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps on machines? Are you doing compound exercises? Are you doing free weights? Just so we're not walking out with our training shoes on and standing around and not doing anything because we're in this sort of state of limbo. So try to pre-plan ahead of time. Make sure we are sufficiently trained, or we understand, or we've had our inductions, we understand the way we're going to work with optimal form, understand the way you can train safely first and foremost, so we're not hurting ourselves and we're not causing any injuries. We can do that through leaning into people who are in the know, through getting our free inductions at the gyms, through asking questions to people online, or even people like myself. Drop me a DM if you've got any questions. From there, we understood that there are different zones for your training. So if you flick back through the podcast, you can understand that your amount of sets and also your amount of reps per set will depend on your goals and what you are trying to achieve. We understood that rest is pivotal. Get your rest in there, listen to the body, how you are feeling and your recovery rates, and in essence your age will affect your recovery rate, so will also have an effect on how many times a week you train. So train smart. That's what's going to keep you going consistently through the long term, rather than overdoing it and then falling off the wagon. From there, we understood that we need to be patient, we need to be consistent. We understood that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world and will help us, is pivotal in our goals. You will not see anything happen for a while, and if you are consistent, it'll seem like it's all come at once, and you will get a lease of life, and that will spur you into getting into the gym or into your personal training environment even more. Keep an eye on your calories, stay away from ultra processed foods, make sure that we're eating as clean as possible, getting that hydration in, and working towards our goals in terms of our calories, whether surplus, maintenance or deficit. I hope that's give you the basics, guys. There should be more than enough in there to get you training as a beginner, or to shore things up and maybe give you a few little tips and tricks you can implement even as an intermediate trainer. If there are any questions, once again, as I've said throughout, drop me a line, drop me a DM. Probably the best place to get me is in DMs on Instagram at McLaren Coaching, and I will endeavour to get back to anyone with any questions within 24 hours and help you towards achieving your goals in the long term. Guys, it's been a pleasure. I will do episodes like this periodically where it'll be more specific in things you can implement on a day-to-day, maybe towards coaching and development outside of the gym and personal development for the next one. But we do have some absolutely fantastic guests lined up for the next couple of weeks Next week, we will get back to the usual format of interviewing somebody who's been through the struggles, has got a great story to tell, and has got some stuff that you can take away and implement into your daily lives. But to cap, once again, the Nothing to Something podcast, the reason behind the podcast is to help you guys get ahead. Understand that it's not a linear progress towards success. There's going to be struggles along the way, but we'll give you all the tips and tricks that you can implement into your daily lives and hopefully move you forward towards your goals in terms of mental, physical, or career or anything else. It's been a pleasure, guys. Please like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel on all platforms, whether that be YouTube, whether that be Anchor, whether that be Spotify or wherever else. The listens, the likes, the shares, and all that sort of thing, the subscriptions, you guys subscribing to the show is what's going to keep it going. That's what's going to keep the guests coming in. That's what's going to keep me putting the energy and the effort into producing this. I do these things regardless. I have these conversations regardless. But for my money, this is things that you guys and a lot of people out there need to know and can certainly benefit from taking these things in. So please subscribe, and I will see all you guys again very soon. The Nothing to Something podcast. Catch you soon.